Hi everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter. I am joined, as always, by the Professor himself, Tim Vargulish.
Hello.
Hello, Tim. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Oh,
This is Screams After Midnight, and we talk about
mm,
horror movies here. It is the month of October. We call it the Octoberthon, and we're having a bunch of extra episodes to celebrate.
we got that Halloween bug.
Yeah, I got that Halloween bug. That's why everything's orange. And of
Mhm,
course, one thing that we did over this year so far is we reviewed all of the Ring movies. We reviewed all three of the Japanese movies and both of the American movies,
mhm.
in part because this year the release of Sadako versus Kayako was released in Japan. We've not seen it yet. We will do that movie once it becomes more readily available to us in the West, which shouldn't be too long now. But part of us always wanting to have all the past movies in a franchise done before the new movie comes out means that we also want to do all the Grudge movies. Not all of the Ju-on movies, because there's a lot of other ones in Japan that are actually kind of hard to get a hold of in the West. But we are going to do Ju-on the Grudge 1 and 2, and then the US Grudge movies. So this episode is the first one, of course. It is Ju-on the Grudge. That is what we're going to be talking about. And I'll just give a general spoiler warning for this one. I think I'll just say full spoilers for the episode. I don't
Mhm.
think there's much point to us dancing around
Yeah,
the plot here, especially since it's not quite an anthology, but in a weird way it kind of is as well.
it's very segmented.
Yeah, it's like in like five or six like chunks that you can
Mhm,
clearly see, and of course the Grudge is about a ghost or a haunted house.
mhm.
I mean, even at the start of the movie, it starts off with the title card that explains what Ju-on means. It means it's a curse that's built out of something really awful happening, usually coming from some kind of grudge. Hence the title of the movie.
Yeah.
Um, that was actually it's been a good 10 plus years since I've watched this, and
Mhm.
what I'd forgotten though when I watched it again for this is I'd completely forgot that it starts with some like weird black and white flashes of the crime of the dad and like
Yeah.
the piano music. Like I was not expecting that when I started it.
Mhm.
So that was just a nice little pleasant surprise. But Tim, I assume you
Mhm.
like this movie.
Uh, well, Pete, I don't know if you remember when we did our Evil Dead 2 review, and I mentioned, or at least I'm pretty sure I mentioned on there that that was my favorite horror movie of all time. This is actually my number two. Um,
Ooh.
and I absolutely love this movie. And it's actually a relatively new like pick for me. I think I had seen it like when the US version came out, and I think they started um having like, copies of this in the US. I might have rented it from somewhere, and I remember liking it, but hadn't really watched it too much since then. But 2 years ago, um, there's a movie theater chain out here that during Halloween they'll like every week they'll show an old horror movie like on the big screen there. And my friend asked me if I wanted to go see this, so I went to see it. And kind of like you were saying, it'd been a long time since I'd seen it. I didn't really remember much, and I don't know, watching on the big screen, it like blew me away. I couldn't believe how much I loved it. Then I instantly went and bought it the next day, and now it's like an annual Halloween view for me. I cannot say enough good things. I really like this movie.
Well, we may as well just wrap up there. I mean, Tim said everything he needs to say. So, no, it's a good movie. It's funny because I saw the American one first.
I think I did as well.
Now, one thing we're not going to do here is we're not going to compare it to the remake, the US version, because that's something we'll do when we talk about the US version, because that's the remake, that's the one that should be compared to the other one, not this way around. So we'll keep this strictly on the original film,
Mhm.
and so let's tackle it segment by segment because there's
Yeah.
like I say, five or six segments. So the first one focuses on a social worker who goes out to this house because there's an elderly woman there that needs to be taken care of.
Mhm.
And she helps around the house, she cleans up a bit, and she starts hearing weird noises. And of course, it ends with the first appearance of Kayako leaning over the old woman and the social worker like becoming Rika, I think her name is, yeah.
Mhm.
Her becoming like terrified, and that's the end of
Yeah.
this segment. And it's funny, I feel like there's almost very little plot to talk about in each segment in terms of like,
Like honestly, there isn't really much other than it's a haunted house, it's a ghost movie, and
yeah, creepy things happen, and then,
yeah,
but there's like specific moments you can point to, like where the kid's looking through the grate, and you can see, because
yeah.
obviously there's two ghosts, there's the woman ghost Kayako, but there's also the boy ghost, which was her son.
Toshio, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, Toshio.
The only reason I remember is just because the way he says it, he goes like Toshio, like he says it very like kind of creepy, robotic.
Yeah. Meanwhile, she goes,
Yeah.
oh god, my voice was breaking there at the end of that. Sometimes I can do that really well, but that was a bit of a failed attempt. Oh, pardon me.
I thought it was good.
There you go. That's a better one. So yeah, she likes to do that.
Which
will
I didn't really, I didn't really realize it until, after rewatching it a couple of times. And is she kind of trying to make the noise of the box cutter, like in the beginning, like when the guy's kind of, like opening it? I don't know if you got like a sense of that.
I didn't know. I mean, maybe next time I watch it, now I'll.
Yeah, like it wasn't. I didn't really kind of pick up on until like maybe my like second or third view. But then in the beginning when the killer guy is doing that with the box guy, I was like, oh, that kind of sounds like the noise she ends up making.
I never occurred to me on my viewing, but maybe when I watch it the next time, I'll get that. I will say, when we first see her over the old woman, the mother, I felt like I'd forgotten. I seem to remember that just being like a normal looking effect, and then when I seen it again this time, I was like, oh wait, that's like a really weird optical effect where she's not really there. It kind of sticks out, and I don't want to criticize it too much, but in a weird way, it does feel like it sticks out because all of the other appearances of Kayako for the rest of the movie are all real. It's all like she's there as an actress doing it, whereas this one, it's kind of like this weird effect. It looks kind of goofy almost.
Yeah, it's a little jarring, and it doesn't really seem to fit in with like all the other like effects that appear through the movie, which aren't very effecty. That just it's all like kind of like practical, and mostly it doesn't really like play too much on like crazy effects or props or even really makeup or anything. I feel like they kind of have like simple makeup on, and it's just like it's just relies so much on their creepiness and like the weird kind of like unnaturalness of them.
Well, as much as I criticize that shot of seeing Kayako over the body, it cuts to a close up of her eyes looking over, and I love that shot. That is a great moment.
That is fantastic. Yeah, I love that.
That is really good stuff. So then it cuts to, we go into the past and we see the couple who moved here with the husband's elderly mother, who's the woman that she's there to look after, and we see what happened to them. And the housewife would hear the boy running around and like see things and possibly see a cat and all that, and she gets like startled, and then the husband comes home and like sees them and sees her and thinks that she's something's not right with her, but he seemingly kind of gets possessed by
like the
husband character, the husband who murdered Kayako. Because like, when his sister comes over and he like rushes her out, he has some lines of dialogue where he's like, she cheated on me, because I don't want to compare it to the American one, but the American one does go into more like clearly showing some of the backstory, whereas this one, like that's almost the entire like hint of motivation you get as to why he does this or why that character did this in the past.
Yeah.
Is those few moments where you hear that, and then the scene at the police station later when they actually talk about the crime and they say, oh, these people lived in this house and he killed her and put her in the attic and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So right, so that's the next segment, and then the segment after that is that it actually then cuts to his sister, because we hear her make a phone call to the house during the first story. So it's nice how everything sort of interconnects, but we see her like at the end of a day, at work, and she sees some creepy stuff, and she goes to tell the security guard, and she sees the videotape, and this is where you can kind of see the influence of The Ring, because The Ring kind of kickstarted this wave of long-haired ghosts in Japan, and as much as I don't think the plot of this movie does take too much from it, there's definitely long-haired ghosts, and there is a couple of moments where a phone will ring, and it's quite like a big moment. And there is
Hmm.
also this moment she's watching the videotape,
And then
and
it's kind of like distorted electronics, kind of
yeah,
like
and she sees the shadow of like something
yeah.
going around the security guard. But it makes for a good moment though. Like, I can't complain. As much as it is very Ring-esque, it's
Yeah, I think it's a little hard not to compare them. They were like that, they were around the same time, and yeah, there are definitely similarities to be had for sure. But it's not like something that you watch and it's like, oh, this is just like a cheap knockoff or anything. I feel like it definitely does its own things with, possibly maybe some inspiration or just coincidence or maybe this stuff is just kind of more of cultural norms in Japan, like when it comes to their type of like, paranormal stuff. Who knows? But yeah, you can definitely see the similarities between them.
so probably the biggest moment that everyone always remembers from The Grudge is in this segment, because the
Hmm.
sister goes home and
Hmm.
she sees some weird stuff. She's aware that there's still something after her. She sees her brother at the door through the peephole, and then he disappears and he's not actually there.
Yeah.
And she hears noises, and she runs to her bed and goes under the covers and is like terrified and waiting there. And you kind of connect to her. Actually,
Hmm.
one thing I want to point out here is that almost there are some scenes at night in one of the segments, but most of the movie is actually takes place in very well lit environments.
Yeah, that's actually something I really liked is it doesn't really like kind of fit those like horror stereotypes where everything takes place in a dark basement or
Yeah,
a creaky attic or in the middle of the woods. Like, no, these are like crowded suburban areas and apartment complexes with which probably have like a good amount of people around, and it's well lit. There's stuff during the day,
yeah.
and I just
Because
yeah, it's you don't see that often.
this scene in particular, she runs back in, she turns on the TV, and everything's still like she's got all the lights on, but it's still the most memorable moment in the movie, because that's when you can see the covers rising up as if
Yeah.
someone's under the covers with her, and she looks down and like you just see Kayako looking up at her, and
Yeah.
it's probably the best ending to any of the segments, I would imagine. I don't know if it's my favorite creepy moment. There is one more that I might like more, but
Hmm.
uh, another good one, of course, is when Rico's in the shower later and you see the hand
See the hand.
in her
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good moment.
Hmm.
But then it cuts back to present day, and we have the detectives at the house with Rika like sitting there, and she's still in
Hmm.
shock from the start of the movie.
Hmm.
And the person who like found her there, like the other social worker who works with her, he like dies mysteriously. Of course, we don't even see
Hmm.
his death; we just know what happens.
I think that's like another thing too to kind of notice is that like it's kind of like there's like this creepy like you said everything's kind of connected, but it is also like worth noting that just like everyone who even has like a little bit of like contact with this house ends up dying.
Oh yeah, you get the feeling that anyone who goes into that house is doomed. Like they're just
Yeah.
doomed from the get go. And
and then
there's
and I like it's not just like, oh, you go in the house, you get killed. It's like, some people they they go home and then it could be like weeks or like years or something before like
well,
anything will happen. But
the detective who originally worked in the case where
mhm,
Kayako was murdered, he's been around for
mhm,
years since that
yeah.
happened. And
Mhm.
it's not until he goes back and he tries to burn it down where stuff goes down, and the other detectives, like all of them at the same time, basically get attacked by Kayako
Yeah.
with her coming down the stairs, which is
Mhm.
similar to my favorite moment, but my favorite moment actually takes place in the last segment. But before we get to that, there's also the segment which is a bit in the future with the
The
detective's daughter,
daughter.
who
Mhm.
he oddly sees her as a teenager while he's in the house. There's like almost like a weird like time, like he
Kind of
sees
like
her in the future and she sees him in the past.
yeah, it almost like you get the feeling like he kind of sees what her fate's gonna be or something.
Yeah, um, and it what it really does really well, because like I said, there's not a whole lot of plot per segment.
Yeah.
It's typically someone goes to the house, hears some creepy noises. Maybe they're not at the house
Mhm.
anymore and they're in their own house or their own place or whatever,
Mhm.
and creepy stuff happens until it's just a case of where's the ghost going to appear, where's Kayako going to appear from, and
Yeah.
like attack them. And the Japanese original here is very, very like abstract with how it portrays what the backstory is, like I said earlier. And the only other sort of big thing you get is you get told about the crime in the police station, and you get that one moment where the husband's possessed a little bit from his ghost. And it's not until the ending where Rika goes back to the house because she's worried that her friend, who's a teacher and seemingly has been tricked by the ghost of Toshio. She runs back, and you see Kayako coming down the stairs, but it's different than every other time I've seen her because she's covered in blood. And you get the sense that this is actually playing out what happened when she actually died. That the reason why she crawls around like that is because this was how she was crawling down the stairs when she was trying to get away from her husband who was trying to kill her.
Yeah. And my God, that the actress that plays her is so, like, she's just so, I mean, but I don't know if, should give all the credit to her or the director or just, the perfect combination of the two, but they're able to make such a creepy, effective ghost, and just like the way she's crawling down the stairs, it's just so off, like between her movements and the noise she's making. It's so like unnatural and unsettling.
I wonder if the actress is like a dancer or a gymnast.
I can see that
because of the way she like bends her arms and legs. Like I wonder like how she seems like she's a really flexible person.
Yeah,
she have to
and
be.
There's one scene where she's kind of like she's just like going by like a banister, and like her face is kind of like pressing up against it, but it's not like she's trying to like poke through or anything. It's just I don't know, and like her eyes, like they just like they cut right into your soul. It's fantastic.
Yeah, one of the big moments as well that we kind of glossed over is when she kills. It's the wife, I think. She's like in the cabinet because the wife's like shut the door behind her. No, actually, it's not. It's the daughter because it's the three dead teenagers who've already died from the curse, or like, and they're all cool as well because they're all really creepy and they've all got that sort of like whitey blue like paint on them to make them look dead, and they're all. And you see, I love how when they come up to the door, you see the shadows of them all through this because it's like a stained glass, so you can't really make them out, but you can just see the shapes. And like she's like looking up at them as they're coming into the room, and you just see the hands coming in the side, and like her head goes up, and you can see Kayako's behind her, and it's just the movie's made up of great moments like that. So we're going back to the ending though. Like she's crawled down the stairs, and she sort of, and Rika's looking at her, and then you see the husband walk down slowly. And at this point, I'm not sure if the movie's suggesting that his ghost is also around, or if this is just playing out to show Rika what happened before, presumably her fate meets her. Because I would think if the curse is born because of what he does to his wife and son, that it's their ghosts that are doing all this to people rather than his. Would you agree with that?
The way I almost kind of felt is it's like their ghosts, and again, this is, I don't know 100%, what the correct thing is. To me, I kind of get the sense that maybe like their ghosts kind of like bring people into their situation or whatever, and then it's like the husband ghost that kind of finishes them off.
Oh, well, okay. No, I like that. That's quite a good way of looking at it.
But I mean, yeah, it's one of those things though. It's like it is definitely ambiguous, which I feel like sometimes I'm a little negative with movies that do that, but in this case I'm completely fine with it, and I kind of like that, you have a little bit of your this could be happening, this could be happening.
Well, I think that works with something like this because they set up, because I always talk about Supernatural and how I like rules, and I feel like here there is some rules, but it's not, but rules as to how they can come and kill you are very vague. And I like that the ending does reveal an extra element. Like, it shows you the dad ghost, which we've not seen the whole movie. The whole movie's just been the Kayako and Toshio. And then this reveals this thing at the end. So I am inclined to think you're probably right, that this is revealing in some way how his ghost is also part of this, and how he's maybe the one that's actually, it almost makes me wonder if... I mean, it doesn't really make sense, though, because of the way some of the segments end, but it does make me wonder if Kayako and Toshio aren't necessarily wanting to kill anyone, but that's me going down a rabbit hole, because honestly it seems like she is killing them.
I guess it's also like important to note that like it seems like she's about to leave the house and she goes by the mirror, and when you see the reflection in the mirror, it is Kayako's. So I don't know too if that's also trying to say that like if you're a woman, then like you kind of have to end up playing out her
Yeah,
scenario.
yeah.
Um,
Which is why I think it's not necessarily that the husband ghost always finishes them off. I think it's like she becomes Kayako in that last scene.
yeah,
She becomes her and she experiences. So I think it's just a case of what's actually happening in real life. If you were watching this from outside the window, is probably just her looking terrified and then having a heart attack from the
yeah,
scares of what's going on. But in her head, from her perspective, she is like experiencing her husband coming down and killing her.
yeah.
Um,
So good.
it is good.
I
It's
like
great.
it's still like, we've seen so many horror movies that I've, become pretty desensitized to most stuff, but this is one of the rare movies that still kind of gives me the chills. And I think it's so creepy, and I love that it's so simplistic. Like again, there's that one little scene in the beginning, but there isn't really any CGI or, well, maybe on some of like the trick shots where stuff is showing in the reflection. I don't know how they do that, but
Possibly.
like, but there isn't any big computer graphics or like,
Do you know what I really like about it?
what's that?
It doesn't it doesn't use noises to let you know
Right.
when someone is looking at them, or like it'll just be there. Like you could almost miss some of the creepy moments because you don't
Yeah.
notice that the boy's in the background looking at them, or you know, everything's played with silence in mind, and silence is terrifying. Silence when something creepy is happening is
Yeah.
terrifying, and so many movies don't understand that and have to have loud noises. Don't get me wrong, I did mention that sometimes when the phone rings you get a jump because you're so like in
Yeah.
the quiet tension that when a noise does happen you're like, oh crap. But it doesn't even feel like a cheap jump scare because it's a normal noise that would happen. It
Yeah.
shocks you because you're so into the quietness of what's going on.
Yeah, I know we got to wrap up soon, but I'll just bring up, a couple quick things. Just playing off that, I was going to mention, I do really like the music in this. Like you said, it's not like loud music stings, but there is like a very kind of subtle, soft music that's usually in the background, or
There's a
sometimes
very
it is just,
there's a very high pitched sort of string sort of
yeah.
motif that goes on, which actually reminds me a lot of the music from Resident Evil Zero. Funnily enough,
Oh, I could see that.
um,
Yeah.
that's immediately what I thought of when I heard the score start up at the start. But
Yeah.
that's just me.
No, yeah, I can definitely see that. And then yeah, it's a great lesson where you know it's just like a little extra flavor on the movie. It doesn't like that's not where the scare comes from. It's not from the music. It's all in the inherent creepiness of what's going on. And like you said, there's a lot of stuff in the background that sometimes you might not even catch. Like we didn't even mention when the sister's like going up the elevator and it's going past each floor, and then you just see Toshio on like one of the floors.
Oh, it's so
Um,
good.
yeah,
It's crafted moments like that that make this movie. This is a movie
yeah,
where it's all about the moments and it's not about the overall building of plot. And sometimes
yeah,
that can make a movie fall apart. Sometimes that can
mhm,
fall under its own weight. But this movie keeps
definitely.
it so simple
Mhm,
and so creepy that it works really well. So, but no,
yeah.
we do have to wrap up, Timmy. So let's get
Okay.
to some ratings.
Well, I'll keep this nice and quick. Like I said, it's like my number two in terms of horror movies. So I'm just gonna give it a straight out 10. I
Oof.
absolutely love this movie. Love it.
I like it a lot. I am not giving it a 10 though.
That's fair.
I would go with an 8.5 is where I would stand on this one. I think
Very good score.
I think it's very, very good. I think it's very atmospheric.
Mm,
And I like that it does that without making loud noises, and it just
yeah.
does it with creepy moments like the elevator going past, like the under the covers, like the hand in the shower. Like it's just
Mhm.
great, great, inventive moments.
Yeah.
So no, there you go. So yeah, we do have to wrap this one up. So that's been Screams After Midnight. That has been Due on The Grudge. We will have the second movie reviewed soon, so look forward to that. It is our October-thon. Expect lots of extra episodes throughout the month of October. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. Let us know what you think of The Grudge, the Due on The Grudge, the original movie, in the comments below. Check out our friends at Rowan's Reviews. They do written content. They do a lot of written horror movie reviews, so check those stuff out. And other than that, check out everything else we do, both in this channel and the Male Fuzz TV channel. And I think that's me. So, say bye, Tim.
Goodbye.
Thanks for watching, guys. Keep watching scary movies, and whatever you do, don't go to Japan in the dark.